Hi everyone, it's Mr. McLaughlin here from the English department, and I wanted to speak to you about an exciting opportunity for you to get creative and to win some money before the end of the year with Hammersmith Academy. We want to launch a writing competition, and what I'm going to do in a moment is actually share with you the slides and talk through the slides about the key information for this competition. So they'll come up on the screen and I want to talk you through them and just make sure you understand what kind of things you can do to apply, how you can apply, what the rules are, and also what the prizes are for this competition. So let's have a quick look. Now, first and foremost, you'll see that it talks about the resilience you've displayed. So firstly, we'd like to congratulate you for displaying resilience and pushing through with academic studies and maintaining overall a really great engagement with your teachers in such trying times. What we'd thought is we'd like to give you an opportunity to take a moment and reflect on how this experience in lockdown and quarantine has shaped or changed you. Maybe how this experience has opened your eyes to certain aspects of your environment, or maybe pushed you beyond your comfort zone to experience something new. We've had pupil feedback and it has told us that you would like to see more competitions or ways of competing with each other. So we've taken on your feedback and you said you would like to do more competitions, so we listened and we'd like to offer you an opportunity to compete within your key stage and specifically within your year group. So the task itself, your competition task is to write a personal reflection entitled Life in Lockdown. We want to keep the creative options of this competition as open as possible, so there are only 3 specific guidelines. Number 1, it must be original. Okay, you can't plagiarise, you can't just copy something from the internet and make it your own. It has to be yours. Number 2, it has to be written in the form of either a poem, prose, or a drama script. So these are the 3 kind of key ways of writing in English: poetry, prose, or drama. So you can write a poem, you can write it in prose, which basically means a short story, or you can write it as a drama script between characters. And number 3, it must be no longer than 2 sides of A4 paper. So even if you're typing this up as a Word document, for instance, it has to be no longer than 2 sides of A4 paper. Those are the only 3 rules. We want to keep it as simple and accessible as possible, so they're the only rules that you have to follow. Remember, a poem doesn't have to rhyme as well. It can, but it certainly doesn't have to. Okay, on to the next slide. This slide here gives you some hints and tips and also talks about the prizes. Firstly, if you choose to do a poem, you do not need to make it rhyme, but you might decide to choose or break a rhyme scheme in order to convey something to your reader. So remember, rhyme schemes could be A, B, A, B, A, B, B, B. That's a 4-line stanza, a quatrain, for instance, but you could choose to adopt this or break it as you see fit. The second hint and tip here is if you choose to do prose, you could write it in first person or third person, and you could choose to write it from the perspective of anyone or anything. Now, a really interesting concept could be writing it from the perspective of a face mask, for instance. Your story could be written from the perspective of a face mask that has to be used at certain occasions. There's also some interesting stuff out there about the perspective of pets at home. They're so happy to see their owner so constantly because they're stuck in quarantine. So you could play with this idea of perspective and do something quite interesting with it. The third one is if you choose to do a drama script, you could choose to include any characters you like. So these characters don't have to be just you and someone else. You could be writing a short script from the perspective, say, of 2 nurses working in a hospital, or perhaps 2 police officers out on the street having to ask people to move along if they're congregated. So those are some tips just to think about. And then all you need to do is once you've done your response, you submit your response just to your own English teacher. The deadline is Friday, July the 10th, and what we'll do as an English department, we'll pull the entries together and we'll judge them. Now the prizes, there are separate competitions for each year group, so there are winners from year 7 to 12. So the first place prize, £25 e-gift voucher. Second place, £15, and third place, £10. So basically these e-gift vouchers, they're very easy to use, and they're an online voucher that you can use for a massive variety of shops, okay, and services online. So the first place will get £25, second is £15, and third is £10. Now that's for each year group. So you'll get a first, second and third for year 7, first, second and third for year 8, etc, etc. So there are 3 opportunities in each year group to win a prize. Now, if you're not sure what this prize looks like, literally just go onto Google and actually Google Gift Pay, and that's the service that we're going to be using. You can see all the different places you can use these vouchers. Okay. The last slide to have a look at is here, and it's actually an embedded video that will not play just now for this, but I'll put a link to this video underneath. Some of you might be really keen to get involved, but you might be struggling for inspiration. So this is a 5-minute video, and it's a really excellent poem by an Irish writer called Stephen James Smith, and it's called Collectively Counting. It does a really fantastic job of exploring some of our own emotions and reflections on life during lockdown, and I would advise you to watch it just to give you some ideas. Now, before we finish up the video, some headlines to remind you. Firstly, what is this competition? Well, it's a poem, prose response or a drama script entitled Life in Lockdown, no longer than 2 sides of A4. What can you win? £25, £15 or £10. And when do I have to submit it? Well, the deadline for all submissions is the afternoon of Friday, July the 10th, and the English department will select the key stage winners and winners of each year group, of course, before the summer break. Now that's the entire competition. I hope you all get involved. It's an exciting opportunity to firstly do some creative writing, but secondly to obviously win some money for yourself before summer break. Hope you're all well, take care, and thanks very much.